50. He'll wheel and go from 52 metres. Loads up, goes for home.
Hey, back to the bench, fans, and welcome back to another episode. Today we are privileged to have former Adelaide Crows and Carlton star Bryce GIBBS with us on the bench. Bryce, how are you, mate?
Thanks for having me, boys. Looking forward to the chat.
Thanks, Bryce.
No worries at all, mate. Appreciate having you on. So, how does life as a retired man feel? Has it fully sunk in yet?
To be honest, it hasn't. Obviously played my last game only 2 weeks out from the end of the season. So, once the boys finished their last game only a week later, it just sort of feels like I've gone on normal off-season break. So it hasn't, I don't think it's quite sunk in yet, but probably won't sink in until pre-season comes around again and the boys are back running around, and I'll see some things on social media, and it'll be a little bit sad. But still trying to get my head around being unemployed and not being in the AFL system anymore.
Beautiful. So I just want to know, Gibbsy, what are your plans post-retirement? Obviously, still raw in retirement. Are you planning to stay with the footy industry or something different? What's the go on that front?
Yeah, it's obviously a unique experience for me. I've never sort of been through this before. So, look, I'm just probably going to take some time over the next month or so just to reflect on what's been an amazing and an incredible 14-year journey for me through the AFL and playing for two great clubs. So, just spending time with family and friends and telling them a few stories and reflecting on some good times over that journey. I'll probably start by doing that first. And then I'll just start talking to people, catching up with some contacts who I've met over the journey. I've obviously got to get a job soon, and looking forward to the next part of my life and what that'll look like. And then start talking to some footy clubs as well. So I still think I've got a few years left in me to have a kick and a catch, and jobs and opportunities might come through footy clubs. So after I take a bit of time to reflect, I'll start catching up with some people. And although I'm not sure exactly what that might look like, we'll see how it plays out.
Yeah, just on that actually, considering you played such a ripper of a last game, any AFL clubs knocking your door to sign a little cheeky 1-2 year deal?
It'd be nice, but I think once you make the decision to retire, I'm probably going to take that off the table. And that was a part of my decision making before I retired. Was I prepared to wait until the trade period to see if there was any other interest from any other clubs? But once I sort of thought through that, and I didn't think I really wanted to wait. Wait for the unknown whenever that was going to come. Obviously, the trade period's not going to be until the season finished, which is going to be in the next month. But I wasn't prepared to wait, and then to find out potentially that nothing was going to eventuate. I wasn't prepared to wait for the unknown. So that's was a part of my decision making when I decided to retire.
Awesome. So Bryce, I just want to take you back to your grassroots football, to the little leagues. Where did footy start for you? Like growing up in Adelaide, obviously. Where did you start your junior career, and what sort of player were you? Were you a midfielder, forward?
So I grew up, since I can remember, just loving footy. My old man played a lot of footy in SA, or in WA and in South Australia. So growing up at his footsteps, going into the footy club and watching him play and train from a early age, that just sort of got me interested in footy and wanting to sort of do what Dad did, I suppose. And then, coming through sort of primary school and through the junior ranks, I just enjoyed playing with my friends, and it sort of wasn't until halfway through high school, sort of year 10, 11, that I thought, I'm not too bad at this. I might be able to make something of this, that I started to take it too serious. But I just enjoyed having a kick at a catch, and that was playing for my school, playing Auskick, then to my primary and high school, and then Plimpton Footy Club. That was my local club where I started to develop and getting better as a player, and then on to Glenelg Footy Club, who are in the SANFL, come through the under-17s and played some reserves footy. Was lucky enough to play some league footy before I got drafted, and that's sort of been the pathway.
Yeah, so Gibbsy, you're an exceptional young talent in your juniors, consistently dominating opposition each week. You played in midfield, you had 6 goals in the mid, 34 touches in the sandful against grown men, some former AFL players, and you're only 17 years of age. So when did you start to realise you had genuine AFL potential?
Yeah, it was probably, as I said, when I was about 15, 16. I'd start representing your state at state level, so playing against so the best kids from all different states across Australia. I sort of went well in those sort of carnivals, and that sort of started to give me some belief that I might be able to make a career out of this, and AFL potentially could be an option. So from then, I continued to work hard, and as you said, I was lucky enough to I think I got about 30 games under my belt playing league footy for Glenelg, and I reckon that really held me in good stead, and a great transition period for me to step straight into the AFL system once I got drafted, and playing against grown men, bigger bodies. I sort of got used to that. Had a taste of what AFL might be like, and it certainly helped my development and a transition once I got drafted.
Yeah, it's great.
Yeah, so Bryce, you're actually 17 years old going to your draft year as one of the top candidates for that number 1 pick. These days, you never really see that. Mostly it's 18-year-olds or 19-year-olds getting drafted, never really 17. Given your outstanding 06 season in the Sandful, were you expecting to get drafted as a 17-year-old? And also, did this create extra pressure being 17, going to a prestigious club like Carlton as pick 1, being so young?
Yeah, there was a lot of media attention around it, and obviously being in Adelaide, they love their footy and are really passionate about it. So, there was a lot of talk from when I was 15, 16, 17, leading into the draft. But as a kid who just loved playing footy, and it was a dream to play AFL and make it at the highest level. There's no doubt about that. It certainly was exciting, but I didn't care. I just wanted to play footy, and the media and everything, they were sort of saying what they wanted to say, and is he going to be number 1? Is he going to be what's going to happen? But I just continued to enjoy my footy, playing with mates, and there was always going to be added pressure going early in the draft. I think a lot of first round picks that just naturally comes with getting picked up in the first round. But what held me in good stead once I got to Carlton, they didn't put any pressure on me to perform, play every week. They just wanted me to continue to learn, develop as a player, and there was certainly no pressure put on by the club. And I think that sort of made me feel really relaxed in going into my first year. Certainly there's a few nerves, and you're always wondering how you're going to go, but the club made me really feel at ease and just allowed me to develop at my own rate. And it was certainly an enjoyable first year once I got there.
Awesome.
Yeah, with Carlton in a dark period, especially in the early 2000s, given the salary cap breach and all that sort of stuff that was going on at the club, them having the number 1 pick in 2006, were you keen on going to join the Blues, or were you keen on playing for them, or did you have another club in mind that you want to play for?
Well, I didn't care. I would have played in Tasmania if they had a team down there. I would have played wherever across Australia. I just wanted to make it at the highest level once I decided that's what I wanted to do. And if that was here in Adelaide in front of family and friends, that would have been great. But I was prepared to move anywhere just to fulfil that dream. So, I think the first 3 picks in the draft was Carlton, Essendon and North Melbourne. So once I'd been to the draft camp, I'd had a pretty good indication that I'd probably go within the first 3 picks. And then it wasn't until probably a week or 2 before the draft, Carlton actually flew over. Dennis Pagan, Sticks Kernahan, Mark Murphy as well, who'd been taken number 1 the year before, and they said, "Look, we're going to take you at number 1, so start mentally preparing for that." Mum's still shattered; she still holds that against Carlton a little bit until this day that they took me away from her at only 17, but. So that was really good, and I got my head around that it was reality that I was going to be moving into state to fulfil that dream. So I didn't care where I played. I was just happy to make it.
What an opportunity, yeah.
So we'll move on to your, obviously talking about your draft year. Obviously going to Carlton as pick 1. You had a brilliant debut season, playing all 22 games of halfback, Rising Star nomination to go with that. However, from a team perspective, another dark season for the Blues, finishing second last. I just want to know, what were your first memories walking into the club in 2007 in terms of the playing group, maybe, the club culture, the direction of the club? What can you say about that?
Yeah, it was obviously a very exciting time. You finally get drafted, and I got some advice that that's the easy bit. The real work starts now. The hard work starts now, and you're certainly not guaranteed anything because you're a number 1 pick, and you've still got to work hard and fight for your spot and earn the respect of your teammates. So I sort of hung on to that bit of advice as soon as I walked into the door, and I was certainly starstruck. I had Koutafidis, Lappin, Favola, Nick Stevens, Lance Whitnell, all these champions of the Carlton Footy Club who I'm training with and mixing with every day, and who would become some of my best mates. It's hard to put into words how surreal that sort of first couple of months was, but they're all absolute legends, and they looked after me, took me under my wing, and they had some young guys come in as well with Mark Murphy, Josh Kennedy. So they'd start to getting some youth in and sort of spending times with those guys. I got drafted with some of my best mates who are still today: Sam Jacobs, Mark Austin, Sean Grigg, which we've become really close with as well. So it was an unreal experience, but just sort of, I can't really remember a whole lot from that year because it was such a blur and I was so excited just to be playing. I didn't expect to play all games in my first year, and maybe because we did have a struggling year that I probably got given a few games. Otherwise, I might have been dropped. But Dennis Pagan gave me an opportunity to play early on in my career, and I'm certainly grateful for that.
Awesome. Also following on that, so the year after 2008, the arrival of Chris Judd, the marquee signing, huge for the club. And also, the club a lot better on the field, up the ladder they went. And I just want to know, what was it like playing with Chris Judd, and how did he change the playing group and the culture of the club?
Yeah, it was a huge get for the footy club to have someone of his calibre to play for us, and he did. He changed the dynamic of the group. The professionalism probably sticks out for me the most. Just the way he prepared his body, his training standards, his diet, the way he attacked rehab and getting stronger and getting better. So it certainly sticks out in my mind. There's no doubt as we started to build momentum and have a bit more success, which we didn't know at the time, the following couple of years, it was certainly driven a lot by him. And I've been very lucky to not only call him a teammate, but a mate as well. So, obviously before I got drafted, sort of watching him play in the AFL and sort of idolised what he could do on a footy field. And then within 2 years, you're rubbing shoulders and standing in the centre square bounce with him. It was, it's going to be a great reflection to look back on.
Wow, yeah. So at Carlton, going to 2009, the rebuild was successful under Radden. The Blues finished 7th, made finals after so many years at the bottom. So can you tell us about the type of coach Brett Radden was at Carlton and the influence or confidence he had in the playing group?
Yeah, I really enjoyed playing under Rats. He was a super... his footy knowledge and understanding of the game is best I've ever seen. Tactically, he was really, really impressive and could sort of manipulate the team to get the best out of us, I suppose. And yeah, we played some really strong footy under Rats, and we made some finals, which was great. And yeah, unfortunately, things don't pan out the way you necessarily want them to at times. And he looking back, he probably was a bit stiff to get moved on, but. Like I said, that's the industry, and more so me personally have sort of found that out the last couple of years, especially. So, but I really enjoyed the working and the off-field relationship I built with Rats, and still speak to him every now and then. That's the sort of relationship we built. So, he was super helpful for me in my development, especially early in my AFL career.
Yeah, he definitely was stiff to get let go. But Gibbsy, you had 6 coaches over your 268 game career. Who was your favourite and why?
I don't know if I can play favourites, can I? Now, look, 6 seems to be a lot, but I'm very grateful to play under all of my coaches. Some of them are really well respected in the footy circles, and every senior coach that I had certainly shaped me as a player, but more importantly, shaped me as a person. And now that I'm retired, and I can sit back and genuinely ring these guys and thank them, because they've certainly helped me be the person I am today, off the back of what they've done. Yeah, not only coaching me and helping my footy, but helping me as a person and my family, and the way I want to be going forward. So yeah, very lucky to play under all my senior coaches.
Yeah, that's great. That's great.
Okay, Gibbsy, I want to move on to your 11 seasons at the Blues. The best team result was in 2011, a semi-final loss in the West by 3 points to West Coast, and also 2013, you got done by the Swans over in Sydney. I just want to know, out of these 11 seasons, what was the best team you think you played in? And did you ever sit back and think this team has the potential to win a premiership one day?
Yeah, well, selfishly, no matter where you are on the ladder the year before, you go into every season thinking you can do some damage. Well, that's the way I attacked every season anyway. So that was the sort of way I thought I got the best out of me, striving to get as far, or make it to September, and then once you're there, anything can happen, and you want to go as far as you can. But yeah, you mentioned that, was it 2011 where we lost to West Coast over in the West? We actually got a few injuries the week before against Essendon. And unfortunately, I was one of them. So I think Cruz was a bit sore as well. So he was starting to play some really good footy at that stage. And a couple of us guys missing, who knows, might have made the difference, it might not have. But I think we belted up Essendon by about 10 goals the week before, and I think I got injured in the last quarter of all.
You kicked 4 or 5 goals that game.
I did. I was on a bit of a heater that game, but to get in such a big winning margin, it wasn't ideal. But again, that's the way it panned out. But I think that year we lost to Sydney in Sydney. That was the hardest one. We'd by fault, you could say, we snuck into the finals. We beat Port Adelaide over in Adelaide at the last game at Amy Stadium by a point, and then that momentum rolled over into the Richmond game, the elimination final, which didn't look too good halfway through the second quarter. But that man you spoke about before, Chris Judd, turned one on in the second half, and we got the chockies in that game. And that game the following week against Sydney, we didn't play as well as we would have liked, but no doubt that was probably the hardest one to swallow after coming off a couple of really good wins for the footy club, and just couldn't go on with it that little bit more.
Would you say that 2013 elimination final against Richmond was the best win you've ever been a part of? People ask me that all the time, but I grouped the 2 games back to back together. So if we didn't beat Port the week before, we wouldn't have got there anyway. Yeah. And they've always been a tough side to play in Adelaide. And I think they got off to a good start in that half, in the first half as well. So we had to claw our way back, and to win by a point made it even more special. So I'd say those 2 weeks in my footy career are some of the best games I've ever been involved in. Right, no doubt.
Yeah, of course. So I want to move on to your stint at the Crows, Adelaide Crows. In 2016, you requested a trade to Adelaide, which didn't get done, obviously. However, the year after, the trade was a success. I just want to know, during your career, at the back of your mind, did you ever think, like, one day I'll play for the Crows? I think one day I'll go back and play footy.
I didn't. Only the basis of I love Carlton. They'd given me the opportunity to play AFL. I've met so many amazing people through the footy club who are going to be lifetime friends. But as you get older, life changes, your circumstances changes, and that's sort of what happened with me. I had a kid, and obviously still really close to my family back here in Adelaide. And I got to a point in my life where if there was an opportunity to potentially finish my career back home in South Australia, I'd certainly look at it, not knowing that if it would ever eventuate. And in this situation, it was a possibility that that could be a scenario for me. So, yeah, it certainly was one of the hardest decisions I've ever had to make. But, yeah, I made it at the time, one that was best going to be for me and my family. And, yeah, there were no grudges held from myself or the Carlton Footy Club. And as you said, that trade didn't go through the first time, but because that relationship was so strong and the reasons were genuine why I wanted to request a trade, that I was able to slip straight back in and continue to play good footy for the Blues. And I think that proves that. Yeah.
So would you say the main reason, I guess you've already said the main reason you did leave Adelaide was because of family, was family oriented. That's what I believe. But, you know, you hear a lot of talk in the media, who Kane Corns whisper something, the final game you retired, you left Carlton to chase a premiership. Could you just completely rule that out? It wasn't necessarily fully footy orientated. It was just more to go back to family.
Yeah, look, I'll be honest with you. The success, I'd obviously had played in a lot of success through those 11 years at Carlton. And, yeah, selfishly, in the back of my mind, it would have been nice to play in a few more winning games and a few more finals. And Adelaide were obviously in a premiership window, and that certainly had a little bit to do with it, but it certainly wasn't the be-all and end-all of and the basis of my decision. So, but it certainly was a factor, and I'd be lying if I said it wouldn't have been otherwise.
Yeah, so just footy-wise, considering the trade to Adelaide didn't exactly work out as well as you'd hope, considering they didn't make a final 3 years you were there, do you regret the move at all? And if you had your time again, would you have stayed a Blue?
Yeah, look, I can't regret it because I made the decisions based on the way I was feeling and where I was at in my career at the time. And I played the cards in front of me, and that's the decision I made. Yeah, absolutely. I thought it might have worked out a little bit different, but again, that's the way footy goes, and I'm happy to live with that. And even selfishly now, I still think I can play for another year or two at the highest level. But again, I've made the decision in recent times to retire off the back of what my life is going to look like in the next period of time. And yeah, there's obviously a whole lot of reasons that needs to go into making decisions such as retiring and such as changing clubs or whatever it may be. And yeah, whether they pan out or not, yeah, I like to think I thought long and hard and got the advice from people that I trust as well to help me make the decision. And yeah, I certainly don't have any regrets. Do I wish things had worked out better, both at Carlton and at Adelaide? Absolutely, but that's not the way it played out, and I certainly don't want that to define me as a footballer and what 14 unbelievable years has looked like for me in a career that I've been so lucky and so grateful to have.
Bryce, speaking of a move to another club, I just want to know, throughout your career, did any other clubs approach you with a big offer, or were you always committed to Carlton, or did you at least look at an offer?
Yeah, every time you come out of contract, there'd be a couple of clubs sniffing around, and you know, my manager would sort of let me know. But yeah, I didn't really entertain too many offers over the journey. I actually sat down with the Gold Coast Suns when they first come into the competition. Myself knowing deep down that I was probably never going to leave Carlton. I was with a new franchise coming in, I was just interested to see how they were going to go about things and how they were going to do things. But that was just a chat over a coffee, and that's where it stopped. I certainly thought I was going to be at Carlton for a long time, and 11 years later, I certainly did that.
So obviously retiring now, were you expecting to retire at 31? A lot of people were surprised of your early retirement. Do you believe if you remained a Blue, because you're still relatively young, 31, as you said, a lot of footy left in you, do you think you could have reached that 300 game milestone?
Oh, look, you never know, maybe. Or on the flip side, I might have finished up even as a 28, 29-year-old. You just never know, I suppose. But, in our industry, as soon as you start getting up to the 30-year-old mark, it's 1-year contracts, and you need to perform. And if you're not, there's going to be a bit of a lack of opportunity there. So, look, it's hard to know. It's hard to give you an answer on that. But, I still think I probably had another year or two of good footy at AFL level left in me. And I think I sort of showed that in the last game that I ran out for. And, that's just the way it worked out for me. And it was sort of never about games for me, as long as I thought I could help the team and there was a role that I could play at a high level. I was keen to continue playing. But, mainly the reason why I retired was that there was going to be a lack of opportunity for me, a bit like there was this year. That was going to look very similar next year. And mentally, I sort of wasn't prepared to put my mind and body through another pre-season and another season, knowing that I was probably unlikely going to be selected most weeks.
Yeah, just on that selection, speaking for myself and Adam, being diehard Carlton fans, I guess we kind of found it hard to believe you weren't getting selected in the bottom of the ladder team, Adelaide. Because I personally believe if you were at Carlton now, you'd be playing till 33, 34, week in, week out. I guess I just found it hard to believe you couldn't get a game at that club. So what was the selection issue there? And did you just lack club loyalty there, or could you tell us about the selection process and the issues you had with getting in the team?
Yeah, and it had changed week to week. Obviously, games are pretty heavily scrutinised, and there's no hiding. As long as you're doing the team thing and playing a role, you're going to get picked most weeks. So the first year that I got over to Adelaide, it was a pretty successful one. I played every game and finished high in the BNF, and it wasn't an issue. But because I don't think they got the success that they were sort of after
with you
before playing in a grand final, there was a bit more pressure to start playing some kids, and our list at the time was starting to age a bit. I think we were nearly the oldest list in the comp last year, so there's going to be some change there. And again, I'm a very open and honest person, and dialogues with the coach, Don Pike at the time. There was some pressure there to me to perform, and a lot of that year, at times when I did get dropped, he thought I had a bit more to give, and they were going to give some young guys an opportunity, and I certainly knew that. And although at times I didn't necessarily agree with some of the decisions they made, as a player, you just have to cop them and just try to go back to the reserves and train hard and fight your way back in the side. But last year compared to this year were totally different. The club went into pretty much a full-on rebuild where they were going to play kids as a priority, especially over some senior guys. But what was frustrating this year for me is that I was upholding great standards, great attitude, playing well in the trial games. They said, you'll get an opportunity. And for whatever reason, that opportunity didn't really come. So I was pretty disappointed with that. But what I do know is that over the last 2 years that I gave absolutely everything I could and tried to do it with a good attitude And if that's still not good enough for them to select me, well, at least I can put my head on the pillow at night and go to sleep knowing that I was doing everything I could to get back in the side.
Yeah, that's the way to go about it, Gibbsy. Good on you for that. So just on a more positive note, what was the best one you've ever been a part of in your AFL career?
Well, I think we've already touched on it.
Pick one, though. Pick one. It has to be the 2013 elimination final or the week before it.
Oh, could be
I'll go with a game that we haven't spoken about then. It has to be the first game. So we're talking round one, Richmond, MCG, 80, 90,000 people. Kicked a snag with my first kick. So that first quarter was rocking. And we got a win too, coming off we'd won the NAB Cup that pre-season too, so we're undefeated after about 5 or 6 weeks there. I think we're in for a big year, but yeah, my first game was certainly a memorable one, and it's certainly one of my favourites.
Oh, that's a beauty.
Beautiful. Now with the last part of the show, of the interview, just some fan questions. Got a few here. So one from Jackson Tierney. Gibbsy, who was the most talented player you played with? Doesn't have to be a proven superstar, but at least someone who had probably superstar potential and never really unleashed that potential. But yeah, just who's the best talented player you reckon you played with?
Well, yeah, obviously a lot of the high-end talent, Juddy, Murph, Cruz, all these sort of guys. But one guy that athletic, quick, could jump, but never really had a crack at his body, let him down a bit, was Sean Hampson. He was in my draft back in 2006, and yeah, he showed some unbelievable signs. And some of the games he did play, obviously ruckman, he was given the midfielder's first use, and that sort of thing, could run, jump at it. But yeah, just his body let him down a lot over his career, which is really disappointing for him. But he was one that showed a lot of potential and could have been absolutely anything if he had a good run at it.
All right, nice. So we've got another one here from Hamish McLean. What was your relationship like with the Adelaide coaching staff?
It was good. When I got to Adelaide, I obviously played a lot of footy and had a lot of experience, and I wasn't scared to just cop what they were throwing at me. If there were things that I necessarily didn't agree with or was unsure about things, I'm a proud person. I'm certainly going to go and question those things. And what it did do, although we didn't see eye to eye 100% of the time, we did have a lot of mutual respect between each other, and I think that's the most important thing. But it's never personal, these things. It might look like you're getting harshly dealt with outside of the footy club or through the media or whatever it is, but these things are never personal, and all of those guys come the end of the season when there's no pressure on, you enjoy a few beers and reflect on the year and get on with it. So yeah, I got along with all those guys. They're all ripping fellas, but yeah, we certainly didn't see eye to eye the whole year. That's for sure.
And last question from a fan, Donato Cartinelli. We sort of covered this before, but he wants to know what's the best game you ever played in. Doesn't have to necessarily be a win, but what's the best exciting game you've been a part of, and was it that?
Yeah, there's been a couple of rippers, and funnily enough, they always seem to be in Cade Simpson's milestone games for some reason, like his 200th, his 250th. Just games that were really close, and we were certainly underdogs in a lot of those games, and we just found another leg, and we ended up winning. And I played personally some of my best games in those milestone games for him, and we played really well as a team. So there's a couple there that jump into my mind straight away. There was a night up on the Gold Coast. We had a few touches, kicked a few late goals to get a win. That was another memorable one. But yeah, there's been a lot over the journey. But yeah, Cade Simpson's milestone games are just ones that stick out straight away.
Yeah, that's great. All right, Gibbsy, that just about wraps it up for today. We really appreciate you coming on the bench and sharing your AFL experience with us. And we wish you all the best in retirement, mate. Thank you very much.
No worries, guys. Glad to be involved.